Hi, in this video I'll try to go through the game description for Supply Chain Management 2020, which you can find on the live competition website in the game description on the links here. I'm opening it. Okay, this file describes in great details everything you need to know about the competition and how the game is designed, how to play it. So these are just table of content. That's an overview of the game. So the game in this world we have a set of factories, and your role is a factory manager. So you control one factory, and this year, which is a very important point, each factory have a set of identical production lines, each of which can run only a single manufacturing process. So all of your lines are actually similar. You don't need to decide what to produce where. All the lines are identical. Now, what can be produced in this world is controlled by a production graph. And our production graph this year is a chain. So we have one raw material, one final product, and each product can be converted to the next product in this chain using a manufacturing process. Your factory will be able to run only one of these manufacturing processes, which will put it in some place in this chain. Agents and negotiation, as we said, agents are factory managers, and they can negotiate with each other to buy what they need for production and to sell what their final product, their finished products to the next guy in the chain. Okay, that describes just how some of the agents, especially the agents in the first layer and in the last layer, have a set of exogenous contracts. These are not negotiated contracts. These are driving the market. So the agents on the first level will have a set of contracts that they can either sign or not sign at every single step, which drives the supply in the market. And the agents on the last layer have a set of exogenous contracts, which again they can sign or not sign, that are reviewed at every step, and these drive the demand of the whole chain. Now, after that, we describe breach processing. So what's breach processing? If an agent is a buyer, so he should buy something at some step, and at the time of the delivery, he doesn't have enough money to pay for what it already contracted to buy. In this case, this is called funds breach. And this year, funds breach will lead to immediate bankruptcy. Bankruptcy means that the agent will stop acting in the world. It cannot negotiate anymore, it cannot run any processes, and its final balance will be a negative number. So it's a really bad thing. You should try to avoid getting bankrupt. And the other type of breaches is the inventory breach, which can happen from the seller side. So if you have a contract to sell something and at the time of delivery you don't have enough, in this case you have something to do. Actually, you are forced to buy the remaining parts from a spot market, which we don't explicitly model. So you have to buy things from the spot market at a higher price. And that's a kind of punishment because you breached the contract. And you can choose that. You must buy from this spot market at this higher price, which you can't control. So again, you should avoid committing inventory breaches. They are never a good thing. All the public information available to agents are available through a bulletin board, which contains information about all the products, their catalog prices, gives you information about the other agents, not including their type, and it gives you information about their financial standing through the financial report, which we will explain later. We will simulate several days of processing. So each simulation step we call a day in this document, and we simulate several days, and your goal is to maximize your final profit. This figure explains the types of breaches, the two types of breaches that you can have, and shows everything available in the bulletin board. Okay, so this is just more detailed description of what I just saw, I just explained. Now, as an agent or a factory manager, these are the things that you have. You have a factory state, so you can ask about the current state of your factory, which is simply the manufacturing jobs that you scheduled on the factory. You have an inventory value and a balance, which is how much money you have. You can ask about that at any time in the game. And you have a set of negotiated contracts. These are the contracts that you agreed and signed with other factories, other factory managers. And exogenous contracts. These will only exist if you are in the first production layer or on the last production layer. Negotiation happens using the alternating offers protocol, but the only small difference is that at the end of the negotiation, after an agreement is reached, it doesn't become immediately binding. At every time step, you get a callback with all the agreements you had in this time step, and you can decide to sign or not sign any of them. And this final signature is very similar to a confirmation message. So only contracts that are signed by the two parties will be binding. The mechanism used, as we said, is alternating offers protocol. This explains it in much more details. When you want to negotiate, you request a negotiation by defining a negotiation agenda, and the negotiation agenda defines kind, which is either you want to buy or to sell, the agent who wants to buy or sell, the product that you want to negotiate about. Please note that you can only buy the single product that your factory can use for production, and you can only sell the single product that your factory can produce. You cannot act as a middleman in this world. Then you also have to decide the negotiation issues, and these are the unit price, quantity, and delivery time. There is no penalty this year, and there is no signing delay. There are no optional issues. These are the three issues in all negotiations. Okay. Now about the contract execution. So when a contract becomes ready to be executed, which happens on the delivery date that was agreed upon earlier, the system tries to just move the agreed upon quantity from the seller to the buyer and the agreed upon money from the buyer to the seller. But it can fail, as we said, for one of two reasons. Either insufficient funds on the buyer side, in this case, the buyer becomes bankrupt immediately, or insufficient products on the seller side. In this case, the seller is forced to buy the missing quantity from the spot market at a higher price. How can we guarantee that it's a higher price? Because whenever an agent buys from the spot market, it's the next time it buys, it will buy in an increasingly higher price. And that is controlled by an equation that's shown later in this document. So when you buy from the spot market, if you are forced to buy from the spot market, it's bad for you. It's always bad for you to buy from the spot market. It will definitely be higher than the normal trading price of this product. So it's much better for you to actually produce the products that you need to sell. Bankruptcy happens if an agent doesn't have enough money. Either he is a buyer and doesn't have enough money to buy the product, or he is a seller and he doesn't have enough quantity, but when we try to buy the remaining quantity from the spot market, we found that he doesn't even have enough money. In both cases, the agent becomes bankrupt. Bankrupt agents can do absolutely nothing in this world. They cannot negotiate anymore. Their factories are closed. But what happens to other agents who have future contracts with a bankrupt agent? These agents will be compensated partially by liquidating everything in the bankrupt agent's inventory. The exact details of how this happens are described in this document, but I'm not sure that you really need to understand all of these details. This is how the spot market prices go over time, change over time. They'll change based on the amount we actually bought from the spot market in the past. We also give here some numeric examples of breach processing and bankruptcy processing. I think these two examples are very important because they allow you to completely understand what's happening. And every step for each agent, every few steps, sorry, not every step, every few steps, you will find a new financial report is published for each agent. This financial report will show the balance the agent have now, the equivalent money, the money equivalent to its inventory. So it will not show exactly what products are in its inventory. It will just show the money equivalent of that. And breach probability and breach level show how trustable is this agent. They will show you how many times did they commit breaches in the past. Not that all these breaches will be product breaches by definition, because inventory breaches, because you cannot commit multiple funds breaches in this game. This shows the simulation steps in order and the callback your agent will receive each one of these steps. So in the very first step, we will just run all registered negotiations that were requested in the previous step. And you will get a feedback if one of the negotiations you are part of succeeded, which means got a contract, or failed. Then you will receive a call to sign all contracts. That's the sign all contracts call. And you will receive a call back after that telling you what is the state of each contract you have, whether it is signed from all parties or whether it was cancelled because one of the two parties didn't sign it. Finally, all contracts that are due today, which means that their delivery time is today, are executed. You get a callback telling you whether a contract was executed or breached, and during this execution, some agents may go bankrupt. So if someone went bankrupt, you will get a callback that this agent went bankrupt. The reason we send you this is because if you have future contracts with them, you will know how much compensation will happen, so you can readjust your schedule. Finally, we allow you to step your agent, which is doing a proactive behavior. For example, deciding what negotiations to start next day. Through the init function, which is called once in the beginning, then the step function, which is called at every step. Finally, we run production. And if production fails, you get an on-failure callback. So that repeats for at least 50 steps, and depending on whether it's a standard competition or a collusion competition, it can go up to 200 or 100 steps. Okay. This section describes the platform. So it describes what is a negotiator, how to build one. It describes all the callbacks that your agent have, all the callbacks in each step, respond to negotiation request, all of them, and all of the actions that you can do. As you can see, that's much shorter than last year's description because we removed many of the noisy choices that you had to make. Section 8 describes the tournament mechanics, how the tournament runs. It's very similar to last year with two main differences. Actually, three. The first one is that there is no sabotage track this year. So you have only the standard track in which your agent, only one instance of your agent exists in the world, and the collusion track in which multiple instances of your agent exist in the world and they can collude together, try to corner the market and maximize their profits. The second difference is regarding the evaluation criteria. Instead of using the mean profit, we use the median profit here, this year, because it's much more robust to outliers. And finally, about how do we calculate the profit. This year, we calculate the amount of balance at the end plus the amount of the money equivalent to what you have in your inventory multiplied by 0.5 minus your initial balance. This means that what is in your inventory does have some value. It is less than its trading price because of this 0.5 factor, but it is not zero. So if two agents have similar balances, but one of them have more in their inventory at the end of the game, this second one will have a higher profit. Then we have three appendices. You don't really need to go into details on these appendices. They describe all the simulation parameters and their settings for this year, describe how we generate the wallet exactly, how do we generate a wallet simulation, all the steps, and then describes how a tournament is run. Every single detail is here in this description of in the appendices. If you think that you need to understand how this is all happening, but the takeaway message from all of these three appendices is that your agent will run in many different simulations. You have no idea what other agents exist in the world. You have to make a robust agent that works anywhere in the simulation, in the chain, in the production chain, and all agents will have a fair chance to control the same factories. So you can trust the results. And we will run many simulations. So statistical significance is almost guaranteed. And these are the references. So this is a complete description. I tried to walk you through it. As I said, the most important part will finish at page 12, which ends by explaining the platform and all the callbacks. Thank you.